Yes, so tonight we are talking about murder. That's Darren. He's not about murder. He's about other things that aren't about murder. Here we go. Yes, manage your anger. Thou shalt not murder. So when you get a topic like this to speak on, you never really know what kind of journey you're going to have to go on as you continue, as you prepare for it, as you read the text, as you read different articles and things. And at the start of this whole journey, I didn't think I was a very angry person. I always thought I was cool, calm, and cool-headed, and everything was sweet. But little did I know, after I wrestled with the topic and looked up about murder and anger, I realized that I actually get angry quite a lot. Most of the time for reasons that I probably shouldn't, and the way I see the world and see people really needed to change. So this journey of preparation has truly changed something in me, and it's my hope and prayer that tonight I'm able to communicate this message effectively so that you too are transformed. So are you ready for this? Are you ready to dive into murder, into blood, into guts, into all these types of things? Yeah, it's going to be great. So tonight we are tackling the sixth commandment. You can see it up on the screen there. Simply, thou shalt not murder. Now at face value, this seems very simple. This seems, all right, I shouldn't kill anybody. Okay, I haven't done that in a while, so sermon over. I'll see you guys later. Unfortunately, it's not that simple. I'm sorry about that. The sixth commandment prohibits unlawful killing, or more precisely, the intentional killing of an innocent human being. It seems a straightforward rule, but as we look at it more closely, we will find ourselves forced to cover some unfamiliar ground. Jesus even takes the time in the New Testament to show us that this commandment isn't quite as simple as we might think it is. In Matthew 5:21, we find the following. You have heard that our ancestors were told, you must not murder. If you commit murder, you are subject to judgment. But I say, even if you are angry with someone, you are subject to judgment. If you call someone an idiot, you are in danger of being brought before the court, and if you curse someone, you are in danger of the fires of hell. How many of you guys called someone an idiot in the last month? Maybe last week? Maybe today? Let's move on. Jesus makes it clear to us that murder and anger are linked. It also appears to Jesus that some of the ways we express our anger can lead to the same consequences as murder. We need to learn to manage our anger well. We all get angry. We shouldn't feel bad about that. In the Bible, the word anger appears 455 times. 375 of those times is actually God expressing his anger. And Jesus even had a moment of anger in a temple where he flipped a whole number of tables and chased a whole bunch of people out of there. So it's okay to get angry. But we do need to be aware that anger left unchecked or unmoderated can cause complications and consequences in our lives. People get angry in a number of different ways. From what I've seen, there are four main ways people get angry. I'm sure each one of us would probably relate to one of these ways. As we go through these, I'm going to simulate what that type of anger looks like with these little red balloons. So here we go. So here's the different types of anger that we have. So we have the maniac, the martyr, the mute, and the manipulator. Ooh, fancy titles. All right, let's start with the maniac. So the maniac is like a pressure cooker. He's just building up pressure. This anger is kind of building and building with inside of them. They have a really short fuse and can blow up at any time and in any place. And sometimes they can just get angry at nothing. So I guess if we were to try and simulate this with my little anger balloon here, it would be a little bit something like this. Something like that, right? Like you can building and building, and then all of a sudden you're just about to explode. Sorry, I probably should have warned people that I was about to pop a balloon. Some people have a real bad fear about that. Sorry. All right, so the next one. So that's kind of the maniac. He kind of explodes, and he kind of can leave a wake of devastation. He just loses it when he gets time to be really angry. So that's the maniac. The next one is the mute. Now, the mute doesn't get angry, doesn't blow up like the maniac would do. Instead of, maybe potentially affecting other people, the mute actually affects themselves the most. They, when it comes to anger, they never show it in public. they actually bottle it up. And because they do this, it can actually really affect their health and how they go through life. There's a high chance that people who do this actually have a chance of becoming depressed or having things like stomach ulcers and other illnesses and things like that. So again, back to the old balloon again. So if this is a mute person, how do they show anger as using the balloon? I think it would be something like this. So they kind of suck it all back in again. And I can tell you from here, that was terribly unpleasant. The sound might have been bad, but experiencing that was pretty bad. So the mute doesn't express it per se, they suck it all back in. The next type is the martyr. Now, if you're the martyr type of person that gets angry, you don't actually really get angry because you start blaming yourself that it's your fault before it actually begins to turn into anger. You're a guilt magnet. You always blame themselves. They're the type of person that they throw a pity party, but only ever invite themselves. Now, this is a bit of a tricky one to kind of display with a balloon, but I would say it's something like this. Actually, it's more about me really than the anger, isn't it? It's all my fault. So I hope that kind of displays a little bit in terms of what that type of anger can look like. They actually forget about the anger and become more obsessed of what they have done wrong and how it's affected them, and that they're the big problem. The final one is the manipulator. Now, they release their anger by getting even. They tend to inflict revenge on the person who angered them. And sometimes the response may not be an immediate response. It may actually take time. They kind of develop, okay, how can I actually hurt this person the most with my response of anger? It's kind of the whole I've been hurt, so this person needs to be hurt too type of idea. And sorry in advance for this one. It's this kind of anger. It's the kind of, I just want to make as much trouble as I can with the anger I have and cause the other person to suffer as much as possible. So I'm sorry you had to experience that one. So those are the 4 different types of ways that people express anger. Now, there's a whole number of things to get angry about in our lives. I actually took to Facebook about 2 weeks ago to ask the general Facebook world, what are some of the things that they get angry about? And these were the responses I got. We have everything up there from hypocrisy to technology not doing what it's supposed to do, people that are ignorant of other lifestyles or choices, drivers that run red lights, husbands that don't communicate well, people that don't do dishes, slavery, people with strong and unjustified opinions. So there's a lot of things that people get angry about. Some of them, there's a whole bunch. Some happen on a daily basis, some happen more maybe once a month kind of thing, but there are a lot of things that people get angry about. And I'm sure as you guys look at the screen tonight, there's maybe a few of those you can be like, oh, I get, that kind of fires me up. There are many triggers for our anger, and it can become very quickly and tricky to navigate after a really short period of time. As I was researching the topic of anger, for this message, I found myself going through numerous articles and fact sheets on how we should be handling our anger. In every article that I looked at, one thing stood out to me. It was repeated in almost every article I read. And it was something like this, is that if you want to understand and help control your anger, you need to figure out the triggers and the original source of your anger. So this means taking time to ask yourself questions like, what caused this anger? Why am I angry about this? Is this truly worth getting angry about? I personally find this last question really challenging. I'm sure potentially a number of you two do as well. This is the question that is going to help guide us through the topics of murder and anger. I'm sure many of us wrestle with a number of the different responses I got from Facebook on that screen. I know for me personally, I get fired up about a whole number of them. But I also know that I shouldn't be getting angry about many of these things. I know my anger reaches far beyond the limits of what would be called or deemed righteous anger. Some of you may be in the same boat as me, HMS Rageface, who leashes fury on anything and anyone at any time, if the situation is right. I think for a lot of us, the things we get angry about the most, the everyday things like road rage or people frustration, are a direct result from one certain attitude that we as humanity have adopted into the way we live our lives, and it's now leading us astray from where God wants us to be. In order for us to understand this attitude, we need to talk about death. In the Victorian age, everyone talked about death, and sex was a taboo subject. In our generation, we are preoccupied with sex, but won't talk about death. The change is fascinating because we face the same risk of death as our Victorian ancestors did. 100% of us will die too. Yet unless we work in hospitals or funeral parlors, most of us will only rarely see dead people in our lives. Bizarrely though, we are more familiar with death and killing than any previous generation. On our television and cinema screens, we have seen fictional death in 1,000 ways. Violence is continually being pumped into our culture. Over our popcorn, we have watched men and women getting shot, drowning, exploding, being burnt alive, crushed by cars, eaten by sharks, swallowed by snakes, consumed by aliens, and even, but more really, dying quietly in bed. Nightly, we stalk around our computer worlds, armed to the teeth and generating body counts worthy of a respectable war. Battlefield simulations allow us to inflict realistic bullet wounds with every conceivable weapon on a vast number of people. Death, like money, is suffering from inflation. Worryingly, as we stare at the screen, the worlds of reality and illusion increasingly merge. Was that film of a bomb explosion, or was it a clip from a computer game? Are those really burned bodies, or is that just Hollywood makeup? There are strange parallels between our modern views of sex and death. We know more about the mechanics of both sex and death than ever before, yet we seem to know less than ever about the significance and reality of either of them. The sixth commandment raises issues. How unique and valuable is a human life? How should we treat each other? How do we cope with difference and disagreement? This is important. Life is not something that we automatically have or have some natural right to. It is a gift from God. He alone gives life, and He alone takes it away. To murder is to take away someone's life. That simply is beyond our authority. God gives us each other. It is His plan for us to be interdependent, living in a society where each person is valued and able to make their own unique contribution. We matter to God. We are unique. There is no one else like us. We cannot be replaced. We need to see other people the same way. Poet and author John Donne expressed the significance of death in such an interlocked society. No man is an island, entire of itself. Every man is a piece of the continent, a part of the main. Any man's death diminishes me, because I am involved in mankind, and therefore never send to know for whom the bell tolls. It tolls for thee. Every day, the world and its media is telling us to forget the significance of life, to forget about how we should invest and care about each other. For me, there are 3 clear reasons why human life is and should always be sacred. First, God alone has the power to give and therefore is the only one authorized to take life away. Secondly, as we are made in the image of God, to take the life of another human is to destroy someone patterned after God and close to God's own heart. And then thirdly, God made us to live together, each contributing what we have and are to others. Murder is the most brutal breach of the interlocked social life. We need to learn the value of human life, all human life. We live in a disposable society of disposable razors, disposable contact lenses, disposable pens, and disposable nappies. We need to protest loudly that the thing that is not disposable is human life. To regard human beings as being expendable, as if they are merely pawns in a chess game, is wrong. To treat death as if it was of little consequence ignores the intrinsic value of humanity. Having this perspective on life changes everything. It should challenge the way we view war, abortion, euthanasia, poverty, and the death penalty, as well as many other issues. There is nowhere near enough time tonight for us even to attempt to talk about each of these issues I just mentioned and the way how they are affected by the value of human life. We would be here for hours, probably more days. It's a discussion far above me and one that I have nearly anywhere near wrestled with enough. So I'm going to move on, but I do truly believe that if we as humanity are able to grasp the way that God values us, it would radically change where the world stands on these issues. Now, this truth relates not to just such difficult areas as war and euthanasia, but also to everyday life. It applies whenever we meet and deal with other people. We need to assert and reassert that all human beings are special. This is important because the media gives the impression that the only beautiful people that we see on television and at the cinema with their perfect teeth, hair, and figures, only they really count. Let me say it again. We are all made in the image of God. That applies whether we are world-class athletes or bedridden paraplegics, whether we are models or scarred, burned victims, whether we are academic geniuses or struggling to pass the most basic school exam. When we look at any other human being, whether a tramp or a superstar, we need to remind ourselves that in them we see reflected something of God. Because He made us in His image, we all have a priceless dignity and value. This is why I think Jesus makes such a big deal of how we use our words when we're angry. This is why the consequence to Jesus is so high. Let's go back to that verse in Matthew. So you have heard that our ancestors were told, you must not murder. If you commit murder, you are subject to judgment. But I say, if you are even angry with someone, you are subject to judgment. If you call someone an idiot, you are in danger of being brought before the court. And if you curse someone, you are in the dangers of fires of hell. Now, I made a little bit of a joke before about the whole idiot thing, but the word that this comes from, that idiot comes from in this translation, is the Aramaic word raka. Now, raka was a very strong and harsh insult back in Jesus' day. It would literally mean, I wish you had never been born, or do me a favor and drop dead. Hopefully, this journey I'm taking you on is starting to piece together and you're kind of seeing where we're going with this. What Jesus is teaching us here is that murder is simply the ultimate and most destructive form of anger. It is where anger, if left unchecked, will ultimately end up. God not only wants to stop the action of murder, He wants to go further and stop those thoughts that act as seeds of murder. Saying to someone, I wish you would drop dead, or anything that has similar intent behind it, is directly countercultural to the way Jesus is wanting us to view, love, and respect other humans He has created and placed around us. Here, Jesus is making it clear that the crime of murder is not just the shedding of blood, it's about the hatred that leads up to it. A clear example of this is Cain and Abel. Two young men growing up in similar environments, same parents, same lifestyle. One was a farmer, the other was a shepherd. I'm sure there was sibling rivalry for years, as there is with all siblings. It's interesting to remember that in this story, Cain was the firstborn. So he is the head of the family. He gets a significant name. Abel, on the other hand, doesn't get a significant name. His name actually translates to be meaning breath or temporary. Imagine if your name was temporary. I mean, how does that affect your self-esteem? Anyways, it's surprising then that after the offering that they make that we read about in the scriptures, where Abel gives his best of his flock to the Lord and Cain just gives some of the fruit of the ground that he has, that Cain is the jealous one. Cain's pride is so severely hurt, he couldn't handle the fact that his brother was looked upon more favorably. We don't get to read this in the Bible, but I wonder what kind of happened in the lead up to this situation. Was was it that the fact that Abel consistently brought a better offering and Cain was frequently left feeling jealous? Maybe it was years and years of these jealous seeds being planted in his life that drove Cain to do what he did next. Maybe he constantly got angry at Abel, told him numerous times that he wished he'd never been born. Or maybe it was a once-off that drove him into such a rage as to take his brother's life. We will never know. Envy, anger, deceit, lack of responsibility, lies, and refusing to heed warning, and ultimately murder are all ingredients that can be found in many real-life tragedies today. The ancient philosopher Aristotle said, anyone can be angry. That is easy. But to be angry with the right person, to the right degree, at the right time, for the right purpose, and in the right way, that is not easy. If we wrestle with anger, today is the perfect day to start managing it. Remember those 4 types of kind of human anger we talked about at the start? Well, I have some tips here for each of those different kind of categories that will help you manage your anger, and for anybody else as well. So how to handle anger. Point number 1, reflect. Whenever we get angry, it is good advice to try and analyze the reasons for our anger and to be honest about them, like what I read in all those different articles and things I read, like I mentioned earlier. Edward Stanton, President Lincoln's Secretary of War, had some trouble with a general who had accused him of favoritism. Stanton then complained to the president, who suggested he write the officer a letter. Stanton did so and then showed the strongly worded note to the president, who applauded his powerful language. He then asked Stanton what he was going to do with that letter. Stanton replied, well, I'm going to send it, of course. Lincoln shook his head. You don't want to send that letter. Throw it on the fire. You've had a good time writing it, but you shouldn't send it. Put it on the fire and then go start writing a new one. That's what I do when I have written a letter when I'm angry. Speak when you're angry, and you'll give the best speech you're ever going to regret. Hold your tongue, reflect, wait until you know what you should say rather than what you want to say. That's the key to reflecting. Point number 2, have self-respect and humility. Cain's self-worth seemed to have been based solely off his status. He couldn't handle that his younger brother was preferred over him. In his head, his superior status had been overlooked and disregarded. And that was all that had mattered to him, and the fact that it had been ignored drove him crazy. A proper self-respect is the key to managing our anger properly. Self-respect means that we are secure enough in ourselves to know when we are wrong and humble enough to admit it. Some people think of them so little of themselves that they think they're always wrong. Others are so proud that they get angry because they always think they're right. We need a correct and balanced view of ourselves. Number 3, deal with the anger you feel. The Bible states that when we feel that there is a problem between us and another person, we should go to them and sort it out. We shouldn't go to sleep angry, because it will always start eating away at us. Take the time, sit down with the right person and work through all that you need to work through on that issue. This doesn't mean giving them an earful or ripping them to shreds, but having healthy dialogue and focusing on the current problem. We need to do everything in humility, love, and respect, to be prepared to listen to a point of view that could be completely different to the one that you have. Situations that could otherwise escalate into big rows can often be prevented from doing such in the right attitude. Step number 4, forgive. Don't bear grudges. The Bible works on the principle that in all our disputes, God is a just judge and He is in charge of handing out punishment in due time. Our job is to forgive and not to be eaten up by our desire for revenge. It takes more inner strength to forgive than it does to inflict revenge. There are times when the most disarming thing to do in a situation of conflict is to make appropriate apologies and forgive. Clara Barton, the founder of the American Red Cross, never bore grudges. She was reminded by a friend of a wrongdoing done to her some years earlier. "Don't you remember?" her friend asked. "No," Clara replied. "I distinctly remember forgetting that." Where there is forgiveness and the decision to move on, anger can be constructive and actually good for a relationship or situation. Are we like God in the way we deal with others? When you squeeze a tube of toothpaste, what comes out is what's in there. So it is with us. When we are squeezed, our true nature is shown. As we kind of wrap up the night, I want to ask us 3 questions. Is this worth getting angry about? Sometimes we get angry over nothing, and sometimes we do nothing with our anger. Anger motivates us to action. There are many things worth getting angry about, but many things not to get angry about as well. And this is where that whole having that view about how does God see people comes into play. Because there are things we should be getting angry about. There are things we should be putting our time into. There's injustices that we saw on the board before. If you weren't able to be here this morning, Ben Wakefield delivered an incredible sermon on being being like a servant in your community and actually going to the people that really need it and being life and being Jesus to those people. I would encourage you, if you haven't had a chance to jump online and to go listen to it, because it was incredibly powerful. But there are things worth getting angry about. Anger is okay, like we read before. God gets angry, and we should be getting angry about the same things that make God angry, because it will motivate us to action rather than sitting back and doing nothing. Do we see others the way God sees them? We live in a world where everything is disposable. It creeps into our lives on a daily basis. That thing we yelled at that bad driver, that person that yelled at us from their car, that boss who only seems to have it out for me, or that friend who told that secret that I really didn't want them to tell. We have to fight to see people as God sees them. Everyone is valuable, and everyone matters. And then finally, are there things that we get angry about that we shouldn't be? This kind of ties into the first one. Are there things you're angry about that God or Jesus wouldn't get angry about? Are there small things that I get angry about that actually reflect more of who I am? Kind of like Cain, caught up in his own self-image and self-worth, that when anything impeaches that, we get fired up about it, we get angry about it. Are there things we need to take care of in that area so that we're actually getting angry for the right reasons, we're actually getting motivated for the right reasons? This afternoon, as I kind of finished kind of working on this message, God was, really messing me up about it. Because I really believe that this matters, and I think it's one of those things that we kind of turn down in terms of, the reality of it. Yes, we're not all murderers and don't go out and do that, but I think the way we see people is really important. And the way we put value on people, and it can be really easy to lose that. Because the world constantly tells us it's about you and not about anybody else. So I really feel like this matters. I really feel like this topic matters, and I think that we need to respond in some way to it. So we need God's perspective. We need to see others as He sees them. We need our anger to motivate us to fight the injustices of this world. We need to learn to handle our anger better so that our relationships with each other grow rather than are torn apart. The good news is this: God works with people like us. No matter how you view yourself today, God can use you and wants to. He is in the business of transforming His people into beacons of love and hope for this world. I know for me, personally, there's a lot of work God still needs to do in me. I want to see every person the same way God sees them. I don't want to be frustrated by them. I want to know them and love them and see them the way God does. The only way to get that perspective is to ask for God's heart. When we have a glimpse of how God feels and sees others, the reasons why we get angry will completely change. Now is the time. If you want to start dealing with your anger, if you want a fresh perspective on how God sees people, or if your life has only ever been filled with anger or disappointment and you're searching for hope, tonight I want to tell you that hope's name is Jesus. He loves you, He knows everything that is going on for you, and He wants you to know Him too. He desperately wants you to know Him. Would you stand with me tonight? If you feel comfortable, stand with me. We're going to close our eyes, we're going to go into a time of worship, but if any of you tonight have, felt something stirring within your spirit tonight, if you felt something kind of shift, like, yes, I want that perspective. In a moment, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes, and then a moment later, if you want to respond, all I'm going to ask is that you simply raise your hand, and I'm going to pray. And the only person who's going to see it is God. I believe that God wants us to be angry and to fight for this way of life, for us to be able to see people in this way and in this light, for us to care and to love and to be connected with others in a way that we become one big interconnected community and society, one that is full of life, one where we build up each other, one where we love in a way that is so countercultural, just blows people's minds. So let's close our eyes. And if you want to respond in any way to what I've just said, please raise your hand, and I'm going to pray. Father, we need you. We need your perspective. Lord, I want to see people the way you see people. Even the ones that frustrate me, Lord, I want to see how you see them, Lord. I don't want to get angry at that. I don't want to get angry at something that you've created. Help us tonight to wrestle with this topic, to wrestle with this anger. I pray as we leave this place, it's not just, oh, that was a nice sermon. I want it to really mess with people, Lord. That we go from this place being like, yeah, I want to fight for that. I want to fight for how God sees us. I want to fight for that life that we love each other and we look into each other's lives and we help out as best we can. Lord, as a body of your people tonight, Lord, as we stand here, and for those of us who have raised our hands, Lord God, I pray you meet with each and every single one of us right now. That you begin the process of transformation, that you start transforming and kind of melting and moving the things that you want to move in these people, Lord God. Whether it's people who find that they're angry all the time, or have been so hurt by anger in the past that they're struggling to move forward, Lord God. I pray that you meet them right now in this moment, and that you usher in your love, you usher in your forgiveness. May they feel you in a way that they've never experienced you tonight, Lord. And I pray for those of us who are here tonight who have known you for a long time. I pray you inspire us. You set a fire inside of us that makes us want to go out and just love on the people that we have in our communities and in our areas of connection. But ultimately, Lord, I thank you for this time together. I thank you for each and every single person in this room, Lord. I pray for the people in here who don't know you yet, and that you desperately want them to know you, Lord. And I pray that in this moment, as we go into a time of singing praises to you, Lord, may you meet with them in a powerful way, in a way that is so unique to them that they can't help but know that it's you. Lord, thank you that you are here with us, that you're here with each and every single one of us, and that we get to live this life because of your Son, and we get to do the things we get to do